what would happen to your personality? If money stopped controlling your life, not billionaire rich, not internet guru rich, not the kind of wealth you see in rented hotel lobbies on someone else's highlight reel, real free, the kind of freedom where your nervous system no longer panics every time your phone lights up, the kind of freedom where Monday mornings stop feeling emotionally dangerous, the kind of freedom where you can sit in silence and not feel like you are falling behind. Most people spend their entire lives trying to increase income without realizing something much darker underneath modern society. A higher salary does not automatically create peace. In many cases, it simply creates a more expensive version of anxiety. Most people never notice the exact moment their financial life becomes emotionally heavy. It does not arrive with a warning. It does not announce itself. It happens slowly, quietly. The way fog settles over a city before dawn, a slightly larger apartment, because you'd earned it, a slightly newer car, because you deserved it, a few more subscriptions, because convenience mattered now, a few more monthly obligations, because life was supposed to get better, and eventually, your future became entirely independent on maintaining a lifestyle that looked exciting from the outside but felt emotionally exhausting from the inside. Modern culture does something quietly devastating to ambitious people. It trains them to confuse visible success with emotional freedom, and those are completely different realities. Visual success can be rented. Freedom cannot. That is why so many people secretly feel trapped. Even while appearing financially successful, their income increased, their status increased, their spending increased, but their peace never arrived. Because peace doesn't follow income, peace follows alignment. And most people have built a life that is deeply misaligned with who they actually want to become. And perhaps the darkest part of all is this. Most emotional spending is not about objects. It is about relief. People buy things hoping to temporarily escape insecurity, boredom, loneliness, comparison, stress, or exhaustion. For a moment, the purchase creates stimulation, a brief chemical reward, a dopamine flicker. Then reality quietly returns. The payment remains. The pressure remains. The anxiety remains. This creates a cycle modern society rarely discusses honestly. Stress creates consumption. Consumption creates pressure. Pressure creates anxiety. Anxiety creates more emotional spending. And eventually, people normalize living under constant low-level financial fear. And eventually, people normalize living under constant low-level financial fear without realizing how deeply it changes their personality. Financial anxiety is not just an economic problem. It is a psychological one. A financially anxious person thinks differently, sleeps differently, reacts differently. Even love, relationships, creativity, and self-worth become infected by invisible financial pressure. That is why financial freedom is never just economic. It is, and has always been, psychological. So what does real financial freedom actually look like? Not the version sold to you on YouTube or Instagram. Not the curated life of someone trying to sell you a course. Real financial freedom looks remarkably quiet from the outside. It looks like sleeping through the night without calculating what's in your account. It looks like saying no to things without guilt and yes to things without fear. It looks like making decisions from a place of clarity instead of desperation. The goal was never to own more things. The goal was to money, to people, to fear. This is the fundamental shift that separates people who achieve financial peace from those who simply achieve higher income. They stopped asking, "How do I get more?" and started asking, "How do I need less to feel complete?" Real financial freedom is built on 4 psychological pillars. Most financial advice skips all of them. Before you can fix your finances, you must understand your financial emotions. What triggers you to spend? What does money mean to you emotionally? Until you answer those questions, honestly, no strategy will hold permanently. Freedom does not come from earning more. It comes from creating space between what you earn and what you spend. That margin, however small at first, is where your psychological freedom begins to grow. The reason most financial plans fail is not a strategy problem. It is an identity problem. People try to behave like financially free people while still holding the self-image of someone who is financially trapped. The behaviors must follow the identity, not precede it. The final realization of every truly financially free person is the same. Money was never the real goal. Time was. Autonomy was. The ability to spend your hours on things that matter without answering to financial pressure. That is the actual wealth. This is the part of financial transformation that no spreadsheet can capture. Before the budget, before the investment account, before the emergency fund, there is a deeper question that must be answered. Who do you decide to be first? Because here is the psychological truth that most financial educators are afraid to say clearly. Your spending is not a math problem. It is a self-worth problem. People spend beyond their means not because they are stupid. They spend because they are using money to communicate something to themselves and to others about who they are and what they deserve. The moment you stop needing to prove your worth through spending, that is the moment your financial transformation actually begins. That moment cannot be scheduled. It cannot be forced by a budget app or a savings challenge. It arrives when you make a quiet, private decision that you are enough. Already, before the money arrives, there is a specific moment in every financial transformation that nobody talks about. It is not the moment you pay off a debt. It is not the moment your savings account hits a milestone. It is the moment you make a purchase and feel nothing. Not regret, not guilt, not excitement, just clarity. The emotional charge that money once carried simply begins to dissolve. Shopping stops being therapy. Brands stop being identity. Luxury stops being validation. You realize the things you once bought to feel better, you no longer need, because you feel better without them. And this is where the real transformation begins. Not in a bank account, not in a portfolio, in the nervous system. Building toward financial freedom is not a dramatic overnight shift. It is a series of quiet rebellions against the life you were sold. It is the moment you cancel the subscription you forgot you had and feel no withdrawal. It is the moment you decline the dinner you cannot afford and feel no shame. It is the moment you choose the boring, reliable car and feel no embarrassment. It is the moment you realize the life you actually want costs less than the life you thought you needed to want. Less obligation, more ownership, less performance, more presence. Every dollar you keep working for you, instead of working for an image of yourself, is a vote for your actual future. Every financial boundary you set is a declaration of self-respect. Every unnecessary cost you eliminate is a reclamation of time. This is what people who achieve financial freedom rarely say publicly. The money was almost a side effect. What they actually built was a life that required less management, a life that could breathe. Here is what no financial book will tell you, but everyone who has crossed the threshold knows. Financial freedom changes your personality, not because of the money, because of what the money no longer controls. You become slower to react and faster to think. You become less interested in proving things and more interested in understanding them. You become harder to manipulate through fear, urgency, or comparison. You become, quietly, someone who the system was never designed for. The most dangerous person in a consumer society is someone who has genuinely stopped needing approval. Because once someone no longer needs constant validation, constant upgrades, and constant distraction, they stop being profitable. And in their stillness, they discover something more valuable than money ever was. They discover themselves. Maybe financial freedom was never about becoming rich. Maybe it was about becoming emotionally difficult to control. Because once someone no longer needs constant validation, constant upgrades, and constant distraction, that the system quietly loses power over them. They become, in the deepest sense, finally free. So before you chase your next financial goal, before you plan your next income milestone, before you open another tab about passive income or investment strategies, ask yourself one uncomfortable question. Are you trying to become wealthy, or are you trying to become free? Because those are not the same destination, and the path to each one begins with a completely different first step.